Hi folks, Dave with DBS Tech Talk, and today we're going to talk about the Shozy Neo CP. I want to thank Farsil the Wizard for sending these over for review. Do greatly appreciate it. Farsil the Wizard, you rock. Check out the links down below for a link to Farsil the Wizard's YouTube channel. Also for ways that you can connect with my channel and connect with me, sending me emails, asking me questions, supporting the channel, sending in gear to review, all kinds of good stuff. Check out the links down below for that. Also, there'll be links for affiliate links to Drop and Appos Audio. Also, there's information regarding what recommended gear that I use and also what music I listen to. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Shozy Neo CP. These are nicknamed the Oddball. Now that's my nickname for them, not what everybody else has nicknamed them. I just nicknamed them the Oddball. And I just find them to be unique, different, and just an overall oddball. But does that mean I do not like them? Good question. All right, so the Shozy Neo CP, they have this very nice looking shell. You have if I can get it out of the way here we go. Like this pinkish color for the right side. It says Shozy, and if you flip it around and you look at the back side of it, you can see the BAs inside there. There are 3 BAs. And then on the left side, you have this like aqua color, and you can also see the BAs inside there. Overall, I find that the shells are very well built. They're pretty. They're fairly thin. They are a little bit flat shaped, and I have had issues in the past with flat shaped shells. They just don't fit my ear quite right. And so I just found that these were slightly odd in the way that they fit. They weren't uncomfortable, but they weren't really comfortable. It was kind of just like, okay, I have something in my ear. They put a little bit of pressure right where the cable comes on the ear, and then the backside of the shell just didn't quite fit into the shape of my ear very well. And it was just kind of an odd shape and an odd fit, but it worked. They go right into my ears. They seal extremely well. I was really impressed by the seal that I got when you put them in. And as you can see, it just kind of, that angle that the cable comes is just kind of a strange fit. And it's just perfect when it comes to isolation of outside noises. I mean, these things seal incredibly well. You can barely hear anything around you. You definitely have to take them out in order to hear what's going on. If someone's trying to talk to you, if you're a bad lip reader like I am, you definitely have to take them out of your ears. And if you're going to try crossing the road or doing something like that, they definitely take them out of your ears, please. Taking the tip off, you'll notice that they have this very strange, like overly large lip, but then they also have a short stem length, and that's because they do have a filter which twists on and off. Now I'm not going to take them on and off because they are extremely easy to lose, but I found that the stock tips just didn't stay in place. I would mash them on as hard as I could, and no matter what, when I would remove the IEM out of my ear, either the tip would remain in my ear canal or it would go flying onto the floor or onto the desk. And I just didn't care for that. I tried every single tip that was included in the box from Farsil, and they just didn't stay on. I don't know if it's because those tips had been used quite frequently and removed on and off and maybe had stretched out, or if they just aren't very good stock tips, but they seem to be other Shozy stock tips, like my Shozy Form 1.4s, have the same tip, and I don't have that issue, so I'm not exactly sure what that problem was. I did do some research, and I didn't really find too many other people that had this problem, so maybe it's just me. The tips that I did end up using are the Dekoni Bulletz and also the JVC Spiral Dots. Foams were a little more comfortable and gave a little bit better of a seal, did warm things up just a little bit and rounded the edges so you didn't quite have as much of a spiky sound, which was a nice touch. And then the Spiral Dots added in just a little bit of energy and a little bit of airiness to the sound, sealed extremely well, and I didn't have any issues whatsoever using either. I prefer the Spiral Dots just because of the little bit more energy and the overall airiness that it added to the sound. So all sound preferences will be provided impressions, not preferences, impressions will be given using the Spiral Dot tip. The filters, you do get two different filters. I do have one right here to show you so you can see how extremely small they are. And it's got a hair on it. See if we can get that hair off. There we go. You can see how extremely small that filter is. It's trying to focus here. There we go. Flip it around. And there it goes. Found it. And there is how small those filters are. They're extremely small. You get two of them. One is what we will call the intense filter, which is like the stock filter. And then the other one is the laid back filter. There's no real way of differentiating between the two from what I noticed. No color coding or anything like that. From what I understand, the mesh is just a little bit thicker or thinner, which makes the difference. I found that the laid back filter was not my preferred one. I found that the laid back one just kind of warmed everything up and thickened it up, but it also kind of muted the details, especially in the upper mids and treble regions. They really sounded very dark and laid back, too laid back for me, and I just didn't feel like I was getting any excitement, and they just sounded boring with the laid back filter. The intense filter just kind of brings things forward a little bit, does add in a little bit of energy and excitement, especially up top, and I found that is easily able to be toned a little bit with different tips, and so I prefer the intense or stock filter. All right. As far as the cable that comes along with it, I found that the cable is very nice. It's a extremely pleasurable cable, very light and flowy, does not twist up, does terminate into a 3.5 and connects with detachable MMCX connectors. Sound signature. Now this is a very oddball sound. If you do prefer these, you may or may not disagree with these, so please press that sensitivity sensor, activate it now. All right, bass. Bass is okay. It's not the most detailed and it's not the most clean sounding and it's not the most controlled bass. It does at times have one note-ism. Everything just kind of muddles together and sounds the same. I found that to be really the case with the laid back filter and also when you used more busy tracks, especially bassy tracks, everything kind of one note together. But for the most part, the bass is more mid-bass focused. You don't get a whole lot of sub-bass rumble. And the impact and just the overall body of the bass is somewhat light. It's not lean or thin sounding, but it's just not the most engaging bass. But it does its job. And for the most part, it's enjoyable. It does bleed a little bit into the mids, which gives a little bit warmer texture and tone to the mids, which is a nice, pleasing aspect. I really do enjoy the mids on these. They are forward. Upper mids are more forward than lower mids, but it's not very uneven. They're pretty cohesive. They have a nice tone to them. I wouldn't really call them natural, as the upper mids are a little too accentuated and a little too forward and can get a little bit on the brighter side of things. But for the most part, it's a very pleasing mid-range, and it flows nicely. has good cohesion and balance, does lack a little bit of detail, and it also does lack some resolution and resolving in the details, but for the most part, it's a pleasing mids. Overall, the details do get a little bit harsh and a little bit grainy as you move towards the treble regions. The upper mids do become a little harsh, especially with brass and woodwind instruments, higher frequencies of pianos, and also of higher frequency vocals tend to be a little bit on the harsher, grainier side. It just sounds a little strained and unnatural. Treble wise, it pretty much rolls off somewhere around 9K, 10K, it just drops. There's not a whole lot after that. It's not just a slow decline, it's a cliff. It just gone. They don't extend very well. And you end up with a somewhat more non-fatiguing and a little bit darker of a tone, no matter what filter you have on it and no matter what tip you're using. But I found that with the intense filter and with silicone tips, especially the JVC Spiral Dots, that you do get a little bit more energy and a little bit more airiness up top than you do with the foams and with the other filter. But it's not really in a super engaging treble, it's just kind of there. But it does come across in a very non-fatiguing way, and it's somewhat pleasing. It's just, I just wish that there was a little bit more at times. Soundstage wise, it's got average width, maybe a little bit more. It's not going to wow you with its spaciousness, but at the same time, it's not going to underwhelm you either. It does a decent job of presenting everything straight in front of you. You can tell whether or not something is on the right side, in the center, or to the left, but it's not going to be very pinpoint. It's not going to be extremely accurate in placement. Everything is just kind of right, center, or left. Where it does struggle a lot is in depth and in layering. You can't get a whole lot of depth. You're not going to be able to tell whether or not somebody's in the second row, third row, and you're also not going to be able to tell if things are behind each other or side by side each other. They all kind of just, you're over here, you're right here, or you're right here. Things, when they travel across the stage, do kind of have a little bit of a gap. It's going, when it goes across, it's not a very smooth transition. So I don't really recommend the Neo CP for gaming, as you're not going to get that exact accurate placement that you're kind of looking for. At least that I do when I'm in gaming. But for the most music, it's fairly adequate. Overall, I find that the Shozy Neo CP is just kind of that oddball IEM that you're like, why do I like this? It's enjoyable, but it's not enjoyable. It's like there's something wrong, but yet I also enjoy it at the same time. And I really struggled with the Shozy Neo CP as being one, am I going to recommend it or not recommend it? And it really got me thinking, and then I started to go back to the Form 1.4. And the Shozy 1.4, even though it is a little bit more expensive, in my opinion, the Shozy 1.4 is a whole lot better option. You get better soundstage. It's going to be more depth and layering in the Shozy Form 1.4. It's going to be more detailed. You're going to have better resolving details that you're going to be able to follow things more and pick apart a track easier. And in my opinion, the bass and the treble are more extended. You do have a better quality tone and timbre. And in my opinion, the Form 1.4 is just a better option. It just sounds more natural and just more smooth and just more accurate overall. So I highly recommend the Form 1.4. The Shozy Neo CP, it just has too many quirks about it that for me, I just don't really find it to be something that I can recommend at its current price point. If you can get it for about 50% off, then it would be an adequate IEM, but at $165 to me, it's just overpriced. I appreciate Farsil the Wizard for sending over the Shozy Neo CP. I have enjoyed it. A little bit odd, a little strange, but pleasurable, all the same. It's been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.